Good morning and welcome to P&B Morning Show, where politics meets business and the headlines meet real life impact. Today we are asking a simple but powerful question. Are government decisions being driven by economic necessity or political strategy? From major spending proposals in the power sector to rising debates over transparency and accountability, Nigerians are watching closely. At a time when households are tightening their belts, every trillion naira decision matters. Is policy today about stabilizing the economy, strengthening institutions, and delivering results? Or are we already seeing moves shaped by politics of 2027? On this program, we cut through the noise. We examine the numbers, the motives, and the national interest. This is P&B Morning Show. Let's get into it. My name is Omike Joseph Matthew, and of course, Chidi Kenneth is in the house.
Another good morning, OJ, and a wonderful Tuesday morning.
Of course, it's a Tuesday morning, a beautiful Tuesday morning, and if I may ask, how was your night? There are some people who don't want that kind of question. How was your night?
You have no choice than to ask that question. The night was beautiful. We thank God we are alive, and here we are again on the morning show here on PMB television. And it promises to be very interesting as usual.
Yeah.
And we hope that by God's grace, we're going to dissect issues, as it trends in our society.
All right. So today we'll be looking at major issues affecting us as people. And so today we'll be diving into the newspaper review in a jiffy. And of course, we'll be talking about these two important topics today. That is the issue of the electricity reform, is it the subsidy also that the government is proposing, the 2 or 3 trillion naira, a subsidy money that will be given to the GENCOs that NLC is kicking right now. So we'll be dwelling on that this morning, and of course the ordeal of El-Rufai. So these are the two major topics we'll be talking about, and other issues that we'll be addressing this morning on the show.
Well, Jay, quite recent. The topics are very, 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 very recent in the sense that just yesterday, El-Rufai honored the invitation of the EFCC.
Yeah.
And I was privileged to witness his arrival, when he took off from his house at Aso Drive. And I drove in a very long convoy.
Long convoy?
Very long as you can think. People,
why,
escorted him in solidarity.
But why is it that when, public officials going to the anti-graft office, either the EFCC, particularly the EFCC, and again the ICPC, they make it look like a carnival. Sometimes they even wear ashobi. And that's their supporters.
They come with some drum
beats.
This
is the only climb, or this is the only country I see this kind of thing. Why should he have that kind of entourage? Or
going
convoy
to respond to official invitations?
Yes.
Well, OJ, there is a mafia show saying that says, if you steal a kobo, you become a thief. But when you steal $1 billion, you become a statesman.
Wow.
There's some kind of money or wealth, as it were, you possess, and you no longer become a personal interest, you become public interest. Yes, when you are running 2 trillion, you have money, and you're one who has been a former governor, minister, of course, by all standards, should be a very successful rich man.
So what actually happened yesterday, very briefly? What happened? What did you see? Is it what we were reading on the news that actually happened? Where, of course, the supporters of El-Rufai were tear-gassed, but...
yes, OJ, they were tear-gassed.
Okay.
Yes, I was there live, like I said yesterday, live. In fact, the tear gas started right from the FMC junction. And the whole place was jammed, traffic jammed. There was serious gridlock everywhere yesterday.
Wow.
The convoy was so long that we even have a double-decker bus.
Double-decker bus?
Yes.
Escorting El-Rufai to the FCC?
Yes. Well, the convoy was very long. It was more or less a ceremonious invitation, like you said before. So when I got there, like I said, I was there live to witness live what was going on. and most of the supporters were stopped. In fact, when he got to the gate, there's a video everywhere. When he got to the gate, one of the strong, supporter too. I think he's also a respected Nigerian. Was not allowed to enter. Only El-Rufai. The instruction was clear at the gate. Yes. Nobody should enter except El-Rufai himself.
El-Rufai.
Yes.
And as we speak, he's still there because reports reaching us indicate that he was there all through the night. And the DSS are also hanging by. They are in the FCC now, waiting for El-Rufai. In case EFCC releases him, they will pick him up. So that's what we are hearing this morning. So it's a serious issue for everyone.
Well, that was the same case, the case of Malami. As soon as it was done from EFCC, the DSS also picked him.
No, from Kuje prison.
From Kuje prison, yes. Okay, the EFCC also, the DSS also picked him. So, this is the most important thing, like I said yesterday, OJ, nobody will pick you if you are not, if there's not an alleged crime over your head. Was the crime committed? Just like we discussed yesterday, is it an act of witch hunt or fighting corruption? But the most important thing is it must come to equity.
Must come with clean hands. Okay, so I'll be going for a quick break. When we return, the newspaper review will be next. Stay with us. All right, you're welcome back to the P&B Morning Show right here on Politics and Business Television, Abuja. Of course, it is time now for the newspaper review, and we have our very first paper for this morning coming from the Nigerian Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune has this headline: Federal government charges El-Rufai over NSA phone interception. Federal government or FG charges El-Rufai over NSA phone interception. And the riders, we have EFCC grills him on corruption allegation. Protesters storm Kaduna Assembly, demand update on his probe. So as the protest is going on here, another protest is going on in Kaduna. So that's the situation.
What do you call the one of Abuja protests, where we say maybe solidarity?
Okay, let's call it solidarity protest.
So, well, in disguise, if I may use that word. But protest in the sense that in Kaduna, because El-Rufai was not in Kaduna yesterday, as we speak, but here in Abuja, it was live here, and like I said, people escorted him in large numbers.
His supporters.
Even we also have it at the airport. So people resisted the arrest, as when the attempt was made, on him to arrest him, and a lot of people said no, stood their ground. So El-Rufai seems to have some form of public, or like call it supporters, as it were. So let's see how it plays out anyway.
Okay, so let's see other stories in the Tribune before we move to our next paper. U.S. sanctions 8 Nigerians over links to Boko Haram, ISIL, cyber crimes. US sanctions 8 Nigerians over links to Boko Haram, ISIL, cyber crimes. And the story coming from the Southwest, are laughing calls for urgent action in 3 Kwara communities over terror threats. A laughing calls for urgent action in 3 Kwara communities over terror threats. Okay, so those are some of the interesting, stories, headlines are coming from the Tribune this morning. You have other stories like the Defense Headquarters announces arrival of 100 U.S. troops, and I think so many of
additional troops.
Yes, 100 troops in, I think, in Bauchi State, they've arrived, and so you and I know that they say it's 200. So the first batch have arrived, so we're expecting the other 100 troops to arrive. So the news just broke last night that 100 U.S. troops have arrived in Nigeria, in Bauchi State, to be precise. Okay, so let's go to our next paper for review this morning. We have the Daily Trust. EFCC detains El-Rufai. EFCC detains El-Rufai. 100 U.S. personnel equipment arrive Bauchi. I think the Daily Trust is specific about
the state.
About the location of the troops here. So what do you make of this development now? The U.S. troops have arrived. Finally, they are, the U.S. boots are already on the ground.
On our own soil.
Yes.
Well, OJ is a welcome development, like I said earlier on. It's high time we see what the external forces, strong, military might will do for us, because we've exhausted. The armed forces here has done their best. We quite agree. But it's time to also reject the armed forces with some form of external influence. And we know what US stands for when it comes to issues that borders on terrorism and the rest of them. And we hope that very soon we begin to see light at the end of the tunnel. So they're welcome.
All right, so more headlines are from the Daily Trust before we move to our next paper. Drops in prices of food items pushes down inflation. Drop in prices of food items pushes down inflation. So I think we're witnessing some drop in food prices.
Yes, I personally witnessed. I went to the market sometimes last month. And to be very frank with you, I was so amazed to see certain, food items, the price crashing, ranging from the one we know, the beans, tomatoes, and the rest of them. I think one of the things I want to commend Nigerians for is that last year a lot of people went into farming.
Okay.
Private farming.
Despite the insecurity.
Yes, not even large scale farming. We're talking of
subsistence farming.
Yes, subsistence farming. Yeah. I, for one, I did 1 or 2 farming.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes, and virtually every empty land within my location where I live, something was on top of it.
Wow.
Every empty land that normally you will not see anything, I saw people planting beans. You see any empty plot that has not been developed, either fenced, no building on top, or maybe the building is just halfway. People just enter inside that compound,
cultivate something.
So I knew the way Nigerians approached, farming just last year. I knew certain things, certain food items will actually crash. Like, for example, the potato, I knew it was going to go down. Straight on. I knew that beans was going to, OJ, so at some point in this country, we bought beans 3,000 naira.
Yes.
3,000.
Yeah, 2 years ago, yeah.
Yes.
Of course, yeah.
But this time I went somewhere and I bought beans for 700, 800.
700 naira.
Yes,
wow.
800 naira.
The potato you mentioned, I also went to the market to buy some food items, and I priced potato, and I like potato so much. So the 500 naira potato, the woman selling the items, so I was surprised. I just said, okay, give me 500, and to me it was much. To the extent I said, madam, it's now 500 naira I talk.
In fact, when I went to a market out the outskirts of Abuja, a sack of potato, this very tall sack, OJ, was going for 10,000 naira.
Wow.
Now, OJ, this same potato at some point 2 years ago, a basket was going for like 4,000-5,000.
So just imagine if this issue of insecurity is not there. Nigeria will be the food basket of West Africa.
Of course.
You understand? Food basket of West Africa, where we'll be talking about exporting some of our food items and not just feeding ourselves. But for now, let's feed ourselves very well, and it will definitely affect the inflation rates.
And food security.
The government is trying to fight.
And food security.
And food security, which is very important.
That is why we're happy that the at least first 100 troops from the United States have arrived. So that we can, let's hope and believe that their intervention is going to go a long way to, to end this whole madness, this security madness. And then the farmers can go to the market. Can go to the farm. And then let's see.
Let's see how it goes. Okay, so let's go to our next paper this morning and see what they have in stock for us. And of course, it is the Punch newspaper. 432 billion naira probe. EFCC detains El-Rufai. DSS on standby. That's what I was talking about. EFCC detains El-Rufai. DSS on standby. DSS always behaves like vulture. They behave like vulture.
After the lions was brought out.
Yeah, so they want to feed on the carcass. You understand, of a dead animal. So now they always stand by. Once you are released from a certain facility, they'll say, no, I think can you please be our guest?
You have other things to answer.
So why are they always behaving like that?
And OJ, that brings me to what I said earlier towards the end of last week. That it's time we change the way we do certain things in this country. It's becoming unpredictable. I'm very serious about it. It's becoming very predictable. The last time the Malami was released and DSS was standing by. Now El-Rufai, just barely 24 hours and the DSS is also standing by. So they keep standing by. Well, I hope that standing by will translate to, what we are very hopeful about. But the most important is that the money involved we're talking about over 400 billion. And that brings me, that's very worrisome. Worrisome in the sense that sometimes, you know what over 400 billion is, OJ? That's a lot of money that can, really, stabilize the economy.
Yes, of course. El-Rufai, I think he's aware of his deal. He has predicted it. And I know that he's ready for whatever that will be coming his way. The government will need to, of course, make their case.
He who alleges.
Yes, must prove beyond reasonable doubt.
Yes.
Beyond reasonable doubt.
Must prove.
Yes, must prove that, okay, yes, he actually
but
stole the money, yes. or his government stole the money.
There's a clause in this whole thing. It was not actually invited for alleged, misappropriation of public funds.
No, he was actually
was involved. He was arrested for the.
No, he was actually invited since November last year. The FCC invited since November last, but he traveled. So that's why he said, okay, if he returns, he's going to honor the invitation.
And then when we were hearing some form of cyber
before coming now, he now started
snowboarding into
other things. His comments on national TV and so on and so forth. So many issues, coming up apart from this.
So many drama.
So much drama around El-Rufai. So let's move to our next paper very quickly. That is the Guardian. Yes, we have the Guardian. 2027, protesters storm National Assembly as debate on Electoral Act resumes. Protesters storm National Assembly as debate on Electoral Act resumes. Section 60, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026 is what, of course, is causing a lot of debate, and people are still protesting despite the National Assembly passing the Electoral Act. Because of that caveat of if the transmission cannot work, we can use manual and all that.
One cannot tell where the transmission will not work and where the manual will actually work.
It will actually work. All right. Okay, so let's quickly look at other stories from the Punch again. Sorry, guide. This one, FCT polls. ADC berates Wike over war threats. ADC berates Wike over war threats. That's another interesting story. The polls are just around the corner. The FCT polls. That's this Saturday. As when
that's February 21st.
Yes, the council election will hold here.
Amak decides. Abuja decides.
Abuja decides. Okay. So relief for Nigerians as food inflation eases to single digit after 10 years. Relief for Nigerians as food inflation eases to single digit after 10 years. We just talked about that some moment ago. CSOs rally, demand update, due process in El-Rufai's probes. CSOs rally, demand update, due process in El-Rufai's probes. That's really interesting. And this one here, this story here from Akwa Ibom, Cross River bickers over oil well control. Wow. Akwa Ibom and Cross River always, on the issue of oil well, there once one state. So I think the issue of boundary between Cross River and Akwa Ibom has not really been settled up till now. I don't know what the Boundary Commission is actually doing, because they will discover an oil well. Akwa Ibom will say, this is our oil well. Cross River will say, no, it is ours. You understand this
like you
issue?
said, the Boundary Commission.
Yes.
It's high time they stepped in to solve this problem.
Yes.
And why it's
where's the border? Where is all those
and
things?
Why this calls for serious concern? It involves crude oil.
Yes.
That's a very big money spinning venture.
Yes, and what it translates is money. Yes, revenue for the states.
Have you ever had anybody fight for the boundaries how to do with palm oil? We don't see such fights.
But when it comes to the black gold,
yes,
you see a lot of tussle. All right. Okay, so that's about it on the newspaper review this morning. We're going for a quick break. When we return, we'll be looking at the energy sector or the electricity sector, where, of course, we have a guest already joining us virtually to discuss the very important topic this morning. So please do stay with us. This is a P&B Morning Show. We'll be right back. right, you welcome back to the P&B Morning Show right here on Politics and Business Television, reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. Now, this morning, a major controversy is unfolding in the power sector. The Nigerian Labour Congress has alleged that the federal government's proposed plan to pay between 2 to 3 trillion naira to power generation companies, also known as GENCOs, is not just an economic intervention, but a political calculation ahead of the 2027 general elections. Now, the NLC claims the move is a covert attempt to settle the boys. Strong words, serious implications, right? Now, but what is the truth? Is this payment a necessary bailout to stabilize Nigeria's struggling electricity supply chain? Or does the timing raise legitimate political questions? At the moment when Nigerians are grappling with high tariffs on reliable power and economic pressure, every trillion naira decision demands scrutiny. So today, we examine the numbers, the politics, and the power play behind the proposal. Is this reform, or is this rescue or reward? Let's break it down. I've been joined this morning virtually by Adesonya Adejukun. He is, of course, a former media advisor, Niger Delta Power Holding Company Limited, joining us. A warm welcome to the program this morning, sir. Sir, please, can you unmute? Yes.
Yes, thank you. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. All right. Thank you very much for joining us. So, what is the official justification for the proposed 2 or 3 trillion naira, subsidy to GENCOs?
Yes, we all know the justification, or is it justification? Let me say, we all remember that since privatization in 2013, things have not really gone well with the industry. You know, I believe that because of certain problems that happened before and during that privatization process, things didn't really go well. For instance, the Nigerian Labour Congress, in conjunction with the National Union of Electricity Employees, vehemently opposed privatization. And so they were hostile to companies, to representatives of companies who were coming in to actually look at the data and assess what was presently. So because of that, there were too many assumptions because those guys weren't able to actually get into the data room of those companies to see the actual things that were going on. So they just assumed, and eventually the government sold those companies. Well, after government sold those companies, some of those assumptions eventually turned out not to be accurate. And because of that, we have suffered from the actions of NLC and the National Union of NUI. We have suffered from it up to today. Part of it is that even after privatization, the federal government has continued to fund companies that were supposed to have been privatized. How many years ago now? 2013 to now, that's about 13 years, going to 13 years, about 12 years plus. Federal government has continued to fund them, state governments have continued to fund them, even consumers have continued to fund them. Because up till now, if you have problems with your transformer in your area, you are still the ones that will contribute to mend it. If there are no lights, if there are lights off in your area, there are cut cables, damaged poles, everything, you are still the ones that will contribute. Your disco is likely to tell you yes, because the law says that it is the duty of the discos to replenish. But they are not doing it, they are not contributing money to it, so they will tell you that yes, it's in the process, but that they have looked into their stores and they don't have the equipment to come and restore the light, the supply to your area. So they will tell you that they are looking at it, and because you need light, those in your areas, those in your estates, they need light. And so out of frustration, you will be forced, compelled, go and contribute money and restore what is wrong. So because of that, for many, many years now, people have continued to suffer. And because people know that government government is ultimately their father. Yeah, you remember that fella's song when we play primary school, the teacher be teacher. Now that we don't dey work, the government be our teacher. So government is responsible for everybody, and because of the noise, because of the suffering, to alleviate all this, government will be first to come in and then pump money into it again and again and again. So because of that, there have been and you of course also know that government's purse is also not unlimited. It's not cheap enough. So government will also go and borrow money to do these things, and at times government is not able to do it. Again, let's look at the issue of subsidy.
Yes. Now, that is why this issue of GENCOs now comes to mind. Why is the NLC kicking? Is it that because I understand that the GENCOs are even saying that the government is owing them 4 trillion naira, and the government is proposing to give them either 2 or 3. So why should the NLC kick when, of course, the GENCOs actually generated this power? It is a known fact that they've generated this power, but the DISCOs refuse to buy this energy from them, and that is why the government is owing up to that amount of money. So why are they kicking it?
NLC will always keep. Is there anything that NLC has never kicked against in this country? NLC will always keep. NLC is a pressure group, and it's like a political party, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying it's a political party, but NLC operates also like a political party. It's a pressure group. It has to keep in order to remain relevant every time. I'm not saying it is every time that they shouldn't, but many times they shouldn't. Like in this case, for instance, for instance, do not know why the NLC is kicking, because the current president of the NLC is I think he's also in charge of NUI. And even during the time of privatization, he was the Secretary General of NUI, which is National Union of Electricity Employees. So the current president of NLC was the General Secretary of NUI during the privatization period, and they were vehemently against privatization. Yes, am I going to say that we've got the benefit of privatization? No, we certainly have not got it. But if NUI and NLC at that time had not been vehemently opposed to privatization, assuming that they had cooperated and allowed the potential investors then to assess the data room, maybe a proper and well-established assessment will have been done, and by now we won't be in the trouble that we are in right now. Again, don't forget that the NLC and NUI are always in contention with those companies in the electricity industry. Right or wrong, I don't know, but they want to unionize those places. But those ones are saying that we don't want union now.
Okay.
Is it right or wrong? I think the workers should unionize. I believe so. But I don't know why it is not happening. I don't know why it is not happening yet. But what I'm establishing is that, yes, NLC and NUI have issues to contend with in the electricity industry.
Okay.
So,
okay. Thank you very much. Chidi, you heard what our guest just said, trying to link NUI issues with the NLCs, with the electricity sector. So right from time there has been an issue, and Joe Ajero, who is of course the NLC president now, kicking against the reform in the electricity sector is like not a big surprise. Do you have a question for our guest, please?
Yes, I think I want to ask 1 or 2 questions. During the campaign promise of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he did say that if he doesn't give us power, that Nigerians should not re-elect him. So I want to ask, do you see this move as a way of fulfilling his campaign promise? That's 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, because I think that 3 years gone now. So I want to ask my guest there, do you see it as a way of him fulfilling his campaign promise? Because now he made that promise, and I think he still has time to fulfill that promise. So I want to ask, is that a way of fulfilling that promise?
First of all, let me start by saying that it is too late for the president to fulfill that promise right now.
Wow.
So there's no need for us to romanticize the issue. The president, there's no magic that can give us adequate electricity between now and February 2027. We have 1 year. The electricity industry is not something that you just wave the magic wand and say, hey, let there be light. as God did on the creation day, according to
and there will be light.
And there will be light. I don't think so. I think it's rather late. But what I'm saying is it possible for the president to have even fulfilled that promise? Maybe partially. Maybe we could have been on the practical route to getting to it. But because I don't even see any president, any administration crossing the hurdle that we have in the electricity industry in 4 years. I don't see it. But there could have been a clear roadmap, if you know what I mean. But unfortunately, the president didn't get the right caliber of people to man the industry. It's there are no two ways to explain that matter. Those people who are in the industry right now they are not on the right direction. I mean, everybody can see it, they are suffering it. So the thing is, yes, is it part of the way to solve the problem by paying that humongous debt that government that those companies are paying for? Yes. If you owe an industry for over 4 trillion naira, I don't see. It's just that many of these, when that I say government is still servicing those companies. Government is still servicing the industry. Otherwise, the government has said, yes, we privatize this sector and let it run purely commercially. It wouldn't have been the same. For instance, look at gas. I was going to eat. Look at subsidy, for instance. Government says there is subsidy, right? And we are not paying the right amount. And truly, I know that if we have been those companies have been allowed to charge us properly, we won't be able to pay. We won't be able to pay because what we are paying now, except for those on the so-called band A, those on the so-called band A are paying appropriately. But those others who are on band B, band C, band D, band E are actually not paying appropriately. So what about this subsidy? Is government remitting this subsidy to those companies? No. So government says there is subsidy, and the customers are not paying, so there is subsidy. The government is not remitting the subsidy, so it only goes into the books as potential.
Okay.
Yes. So every year, for instance, last year, for instance, I think there was an additional 2 trillion naira or so subsidy that was due. Government has not paid. And look at it backwards since 2013 up to now. Look at it, 22 trillion naira. Although it has not always been 2 trillion naira per annum, because of the naira
devaluation
and so on, devaluation and so on. So it continues to increase. So government is not paying. It's part of the debt that government is owing the industry. In fact, it is a substantial part of the debt. Again, the industry, like the GENCOs, for instance, we always utilize gas. I can tell you that if you look at the budget of any generation company, at least 60 to 70, between 60 and 65% is for gas purchase. Yes, it's for gas purchase. It is the remaining that they use in all other things. So if you need to use 65% of your invoice, of your budget of that gas purchase, and they are not able to, what do they give them? Embed. I'm sure you remember that Embed is the one that pays. That is actually the customer. They sell power to Embed. Technically, and Embed collects money from discos. Discos are the ones that collect this revenue on behalf of the industry. It collects on behalf of the GENCOs. It collects on behalf of TCN, and it also collects on behalf of other agencies like NDRC and so on and so forth. So it remits to Embed. But is Embed able to collect this money? No. So Embed will pay, and it got improved. Sometimes maybe 2 years ago,
okay,
they introduced this. What do we call it now?
Okay, this banding, and the NLC is even against this band A, band B, whatever banding,
Different kinds of bands.
bands. Yes, and NLC is also
Sometimes
against that.
I wonder what
deceiving
band
nigger.
I even belong to.
So
Yes, I think NLC is against it. Yeah, in terms of say, should we have discrimination? I'm also against it. Because as I'm sitting here, I won't lie for as for instance, but because of where I happen to stay, I cannot get it. So they say I'm on is it band C or something that I will have the maximum of 12 hours, 8 and 12 hours a day. But do I get 8 hours? No.
just like Chidi here, who is on, you are on, is it band B? You said
at some point I thought I was even in blue band.
can hardly get 8 hours. It is estate.
I don't think I belong
in
to
Abuja.
I don't even have a band.
Exactly, and I think that raises the point for the banding system because you are on blue band. So you have to now go and spend money on alternative energy. Okay, you spend money on alternative energy. It's either you use diesel or you use petrol or you install solar. Now, if you install solar, to have reasonable light through solar, reasonable light, I mean, you have to enjoy your life, you have to use your freezer, you have to watch TV, you have to use those kind of things. There's no way right now that you will not spend like 3 million naira to install solar. There's no way. So, if you spend that 3 million naira and you compare it to people who are on band A that we are talking about, who do not have to spend extra on alternative energy, you discover that yes, there's a reasonable ground for banding it because those who are, if you use grid electricity, for instance, it's cheap. There's no way you compare grid electricity with generators.
Yeah.
No way.
No way. Yeah.
So that is exactly the reason behind banding it. That yes, you have 24-hour electricity, so you're not going to spend extra money on diesel or blah blah blah. So your expenses will be less because grid electricity is cheap. It's cheap compared to others. You that is on band B, you have up to maybe 18 hours or so. So you will spend a bit more, and then that's how it was created actually. To the point that those on the band E who are complete rural people will pay almost next to nothing.
Yeah. So
that's the reason. That's the reason behind the banding system.
All right, okay. I'm looking at the entire analysis you've given, and then vis-a-vis the question we've asked. I want to just ask a very direct question. Over the 3.3 trillion naira, is it a way of clearing the 4 trillion, or reducing the deficit, the 4 trillion naira owed to GENCO, or the settlement to the boys as alleged by, the Nigerian Labour Congress?
So what's
your view on this? To which one?
Yes, is it a political settlement? Let's look at the timing.
Looking at the timing,
yeah,
too.
Look at the timing.
It's coming at a time
is that
where
NLC is coming from, sir?
NLC is looking at it that okay, the timing. I want to believe so.
Okay, now let me ask the question: when is the correct time?
That is the issue.
That's the question for you. That's why you are here.
Yes.
That's why you are here to answer it. When is the correct time?
On the inauguration day, when President Tinubu was being inaugurated. You remember those famous or infamous, I don't know the way you look at it, subsidy is gone.
It's gone.
You remember?
Yeah.
Yes.
And up to today, a lot of people are still criticizing him that it was too early, that he should have given us some time to adjust. He should have warned us that, okay, in another 2 months, in another 6 months, and so on, yeah, we will remove subsidy. You remember that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we are criticizing him for it. Now he is saying that he wants to pay this money right now, and we're also criticizing him for it. So the issue is, when exactly is the right time in this world? And we also must remember that this payment issue did not start today. The agitation has been on even since President Jonathan. Yeah, we've argued about this, that these companies are being owed. They complain that they are being owed and that they need the money that is being owed them in order to improve their services. It couldn't happen because there was no money. During the President Buhari, it didn't happen because there was no money. And actually, we know that during Buhari, the economy suffered a lot. Now, when President Tinubu came, the argument continued and the pressure continued. And they were looking for how to solve this problem. Now, how are they eventually solving it? Because I believe they still say there is no money. Government will never have enough money anyway, just like you and I. Will never have enough money. So, in a way to solve it, they now concluded to go to the bond market, raise bond and begin to offset this through bond. And now people are saying that it is to settle. I don't know. It may be to settle. I don't know. I don't have the information that the NLC has. They work there. They are active service. I mean, they are the workers who operate in this industry. So they know how it is. They are the ones who work in the presidency. They are the ones who prepare all the memo. They are the ones who sit down at meetings. So they may have their information. But looking at it logically from where I'm sitting, there is no time that money should not be paid. So if they are owing them, if they've been owing them since 2013 to now, and they are saying it is because they are owing them. Because remember, as we speak today, go to National Grid. There's a group called there's a handle called National Grid on X, former Twitter. Go to there and look at it as late as yesterday, because I monitor this thing every day. As late as yesterday, the amount of energy they distributed to the 12 discos is 3,500 megawatts.
It's okay. Sorry. I would like to cut you there, Mr. Desari. You mentioned something that caught my attention. That's the national grid. Now, what do you make of this national grid? Looking at the debt, are you saying that? Would I be correct to say that the debt owned to GENCO or GENCO, whatever, is responsible for the continuous collapse
of the grid?
Because you mentioned national grid, and I think I just want to touch a little about that, because when you're owing someone since 2013 or thereabouts, we keep from 2013 till date, and I don't think I've lost count of the number of collapse. At some point, somebody was saying, what's wrong with the national grid?
Yes, so very quickly, what do you have to say about that?
Yes.
The collapse of the national grid.
The national grid will always collapse. Because...
Is the debt responsible for it? Is the debt responsible?
Because we are not looking at the real issues. One, it's not only the debt that is responsible for the collapse of the national grid. No, it's not only the debt. But it is also funding, especially. But also, we are Nigerians and we know the impact of corruption on this system. So, even if somebody says he's going to repair something or he's going to purchase something for 2 billion, and we know practically that if you go to the market yourself, you can purchase it for 200 million naira. That's corruption, right? Yeah, that's part of it. Then again, the national grid will also put there lack of funding, essentially lack of discipline, incompetent managers. There are a lot of reasons why the national grid will always collapse. And when you have imbalance, for instance, we are saying that they are giving us 3,500 megawatts. Remember that even when you have a sudden collapse in supply, it causes disturbance on the grid, because it has to be balanced. I'm trying to be as layman as possible. It has to be balanced. So it's like supply and demand, they have to be at equilibrium. So if there is a sudden surge, for instance, if there is a problem in one of the GENCOs, and a GENCO that is probably supplying 500, maybe 200 megawatts to a system which is taking 3,500 megawatts. If there's a sudden collapse in that system, it will suddenly break down. The national grid will collapse because it is equilibrium. It has to, what is going in and what is going out must balance. Must be seen. Yes. So not having enough funding is certainly a major part of it. Not having enough funding. So the lack of enough adequate funding could be because of corruption, because people are stealing the little that is there. It could also be because it is lacking.
Okay.
Because they are not having the money.
Okay.
You know that what is it now? TCN is also collects part of the money that we pay.
Okay.
Even though it is still funded substantially like government. Yeah.
All right, our time is fast spent, but let me quickly ask you this, because we are talking about numbers here. Could this subsidy, the proposed subsidy, worsen Nigeria's fiscal deficit or increase the country's debt burden?
No, there is no proposed subsidy. The subsidy is already there. It's already embedded in the system.
Yes, talking about the payments now, this 2 or 3 billion that the government is proposing to pay, that the NLC is kicking. Should the government pay? Will it worsen the situation or what?
No, there is no way to worsen the situation, because remember that of the 5 GENCOs that the government is proposing to pay right now, the only one that is owned by the Federation is NDPHC.
Okay.
The NDPHC is owned by local government, state government, and the federal government. And then, according to the revenue formula, that's how they own it. Yeah. But others are owned by private individuals. They group, blah, 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 all of them. They are owned by private companies. And if you pay private companies their due, certainly they want to improve their services. Look at Lagos, for instance. Igni has also already said that they want to extend their capacity to by about another 3,000 megawatts. So if that since this money is going to be paid now, yes, they are now ready to extend. The thing is not paid. It's a private company. Where will it get it? NDPHC, for instance, will get subvention from the federal government because it is from the federation. Don't let me say federal government, from the federation. But others that are purely private companies, where will they get their subvention from? So they either go to the stock market, and if you go to the stock market, investors will ask you, if you invest this, how is it coming? How do we make our profit? So if the money is not paid and those guys are not getting it, they will not have the incentive to improve.
All right. Adesanya Adejokun, I beg your pardon. Okay, thank you very, very much for your incisive analysis this morning on the program P&B Morning Show. Really appreciate your contribution this morning, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
And we hope that we'll always have you here, sir.
Well, anytime.
All right. Thank you very, very much. Okay, and that has been Adesanya Adejokun, the former media advisor, Niger Delta Power Holding Company Limited. So there's no surprise that he has all this information. This is somebody who is in the power sector.
He's a key player.
Yeah, a key player in the power sector.
Yes.
So he knows all the nitty-gritty, all the things happening in the power sector.
And I like the fact that the way he approached it, the answer, the questions we asked him, it was quite direct. And he made it clear to make us understand that money has a big role to play, in giving us the desired power supply that we want. And that was why when I asked him, okay, this debt we're talking about, does it have anything to do with the, continuous collapse? He said, of course. And he also mentioned other factors like poor maintenance and, wrong handlers. These are issues. And I want to commend him, Mr. Desayan, for, just answering the questions directly the way it is, and making Nigerians to see that these issues and these factors are not rocket science. So all we need is just the political will to harvest these points and then run with them.
All right, and yes, that's the issue with the power sector, and we hope that the issues will be resolved, as it were. And we'll keep you posted with the developments coming from the power sector. You're still watching the P&B Morning Show. We're going for a quick break. When we return, we'll surely talk about the Air Rufai deal. Be right back. All right, so welcome back to the P&B Morning Show right here on Politics and Business Television. I'm still Omike Joseph Matthew. And of course, let's quickly dive into another issue this morning. Now, fresh legal trouble is unfolding for former Kaduna State Governor Malam Nasir El-Rufai as the federal government files criminal charges against him over alleged unlawful interception of the phone communications of the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu. Now, the charges stem from comments El-Rufai reportedly made during an appearance on Arise TV, where prosecutors claim he admitted involvement and knowledge of the alleged act. This development adds to the growing political tensions surrounding El-Rufai in recent months, amid his outspoken criticism of key figures within the ruling establishment and ongoing debate about internal party dynamics ahead of the 2027 election. Now, with charges filed under the Cyber Crimes Prohibition Prevention Act, Amendment Act 2024, and the Nigerian Communications Act of 2023, the stakes have shifted from political rhetorics to a courtroom battle. So, is this a straightforward enforcement of cyber and national security laws, or does it signal a deeper political confrontation? That's the conversation this morning. And we're hoping to be joined by Professor Kabiru Mato, a political affairs analyst. But before we join him, I have my colleague in the studio, Chidi Kenneth. Chidi Kenneth, earlier on, you told us about, the situation surrounding El-Rufai yesterday when he took himself willingly to the EFCC. But of course, while he was there, the federal government went to court and pressed some charges against him following his comments on national television. And it surrounds the issue of cybercrime. So what's your take on all this ordeals around El-Rufai in recent days?
All right, OJ, thank you very much. Under the Cybercrime, Protections and Prevention Act, and the Communication Act, for criminal liability to be established, one has to, participate directly.
Really? Is
Yes.
that what the act says?
Yes.
Participate directly.
Yes.
Even by admitting that some, like he said, I'm trying to paraphrase now. He said somebody who wiretapped the NSA, brought the recordings to him, that they are there. As the government is also listening to us, we are also listening to them.
Yes, if he says or he claims that someone who, hacked the lines of the NSA, brought such information, well, he needs to provide that person. But the law says, the act says that he, El-Rufai, has to participate directly before that such kind of, allegations or crimes can be, established against him. However, let's look at this. Now, the NSA himself, Nuhu Ribadu has not come out to make any public denials or if the line was hacked or not. And that caused for serious concern because the office of the NSA is a very powerful and sensitive office. I was wondering why and how such a high-profile, individual, his line will be hacked. I want to even find out which company is the service provider among the telecommunication giants we have in Nigeria, because such a personality should be protected. His line should be
a secured line.
A secured line, his line should be maybe the president should be the one to have that kind of opportunity to access such line, or maybe the service chiefs, as it were, or maybe director DSS and NIA and what have you, the powerful and sensitive security agencies in Nigeria. But here we are, a former governor who is now, I'll classify him just a normal citizen, coming to say that somebody who we don't know yet hacked his line. And OJ, if the NSA's office, the line of the NSA is being hacked, then what happens to the ordinary Nigerian? You can ask.
But do you expect El-Rufai, someone as high as El-Rufai politically, to be mentioning or saying such thing on live television knowing the consequences of his revelations? Do you expect such?
I don't expect him, considering his profile and the sensitivity of what he was saying. And that statement could also trigger a lot of interest and concern.
Just like what it has triggered now.
Yes, that borders on national security. Such media PR, I don't know who are his handlers, but I think they need to do better because I don't think it's proper to come out on national TV to say that, because it has a way of exposing the security architecture and weakness of a nation. You don't come out and say, even though let's assume it happened allegedly, but not on national TV, OJ, not on national TV, because it calls for question. It shows maybe, how weak, the office of the NSA could be, or how vulnerable it could be for somebody to hack into such high profile security personnel in Nigeria. So I totally I don't think I want to align myself with such. The handlers of El-Rufai should do better.
Okay, now, but don't you think, look, we are talking about El-Rufai. Don't you think El-Rufai knows what he's doing to begin with?
Yes. Like I said, of course, being a minister, being a former governor, he has been in the corridors of power for so long. He knows what he's doing, actually. But for crying out loud, he should also need to apply some media PR. It's not everything that is said on national TV. It can be allowed backstage. We're not on national TV. Like me and you were on national TV. So there's some things we cannot say, for the interest of national cohesion and oneness. There's some things you can't say. There's some things you can't even tell your child directly. Even in the Holy Book, Abraham did not tell Sarah, I want to take Isaac to go and slaughter him. Sarah would not agree. He just said, okay, Isaac is going to send me off to the farms. Let's go and do one or two things. But right deep in his mind, he knew what he was going to do. So that's media PR at that level. So that's what I think El-Rufai should have applied as well. Coming on national TV to say the line of, no. Even though the Cyber Crime Prevention and Protection Act, under the Communication Act, says that you must be involved directly, which I think El-Rufai was only making reference to somebody who, did such act, not him. So there's some form of technicalities in, this whole matter. But however, going forward, I want to also urge the NSA to tighten up their security, their communication.
They've not said it happened or not. So
well, we have this about 72 or 80, almost more than 72 hours now, or more than that.
Okay.
It's enough for someone to come out and say no, it happened or not. And silent in itself can also be seen as consent.
Consent or admittance.
So we need the NSA to come out and say, no, it happened or not.
Okay.
If it didn't happen, OJ, why would I be inviting him?
Okay. I think we have our guest on the line now, Professor Kabiru Matu, a political affairs analyst. Can you hear us, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning to you. Nice having you this morning on the P&B morning show.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, okay, all right. Now, straight to the matter. Do the charges against Nasir El-Rufai represent a straightforward enforcement of cybercrime laws, or are there political undertone to all this?
Well, thank you very much again. Good morning, Nigeria, and then good morning, all our viewers. To begin with, I think it's not important to just take the matter from the surface. It's important to look at the trajectory of events that have happened before now and what's happening now. It would be too hasty and too unfair and too unjust for anybody to just want to arrive at a conclusion when you see two, tendencies trying to prevail or tendencies trying to assert their positions. I think the tragedy that we face as a nation today is that because of the long age decay in terms of governance and administration, Nigerians have lost their focus. Nigerians have lost their sense of humanity. We have lost our sense of justice. And therefore, we treat every matter not on the basis of its value or even its face value, but on the matter of who is involved and what is involved. And I think that's very, very unfortunate. And that's why perhaps if we don't effect any major change at the moment, Nigeria will continue to, dwindle and possibly grant or hold, God forbid, because of the very protracted poor leadership that this country has been infested with over a very long period of time. Now, so to talk about the idea of or the issue of any allegation or any issue, any matter that is between National Rufai, the National Security Advisor, or the Tinubu-led federal government, I think it will not be fair. For us to just take it at the level of surface or to simply take it because I'm a member of APC, so I will defend no matter what rubbish the APC-led government, is doing, or because, National Rufai, as many people will say, is aggrieved about not being appointed a minister, even when every Nigerian who cared to see what's going on really saw what happened. He didn't want to be a minister. He was invited. He was forced to stay back. He was brought into the government. And then, of course, those of us that were in government along in Kaduna knew the role he played. First of all, the emergence of President Tinubu as a candidate of the party. So if the federal government is now charging him with the issues, that came up or that were thrown up by the interview he granted to Charles Aniogulo of Arise Television sometimes last week, they may be justified to do that. But I want us to dispassionately take a very neutral position and allow the cause of justice to take its course rather than to begin to make interpretation based on our individual, preferences, or because we don't like Nasir El-Rufai, because we like the Tinubu-led federal government. So we take positions and we begin to portion blame.
Okay, now
I want to say
yes. Talking about that, now you have mentioned that one has to look at this issue objectively. So, how strong do you think is the federal government's case based on the alleged television interview, from your own perspective?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, and I think we're under a democracy. If we're under a democracy, the Western liberal perspective of democracy allows citizens to say whatever they want to say, and it's now left for whoever, to try to assert or determine through the instrumentality of the judiciary. But then my greatest fear, and the fear of several other Nigerians like me, is that we are facing a very serious crisis as far as our judicial system is concerned. In local political parlance, we are told that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. I do say that it's not the last hope of the common man. It is the last hope of even the uncommon man. But the manner in which the Nigerian judiciary seems to be behaving, the dwindling nature of their credibility, the manner in which they pass judgment that seems to be confrontational with the wishes and aspirations of the people. It maybe questions the integrity of the judiciary itself. So a lot of us really are losing hope. Several have lost hope already. I don't know how many Nigerians still have hope that if they have any matter. Let me give you an example. When this civil rule started between 1999 and 2007, especially between 2003 and 2007, we saw a protracted crisis between the president and his wife, President Obasanjo and Vice President Atiku Abubakar. And we saw several times, a time did come when even the Federal Executive Council making some young talks told the Vice President to stay away because he was indicted by, what they call a duly constituted presidential panel. Now, on several other incidences, what did the Vice President do? The Vice President went to the Supreme Court. And at the end of the day, he secured favorable judgment against the decision of the president and PDP-led federal government on many occasions.
Yeah.
Will a Nigerian sitting vice president today go to the Supreme Court on any particular matter when the judiciary itself is accused of, a very palpable partisan, partisanship on matters, that everybody could see from our naked eyes. You see political justice, you see social justice, you see economic justice, But then we see the judiciary taking very so as far as these issues are concerned, Nigerians are alert, and we will wait to see. It's not enough for any government or any personality in government. After all, governments are transient. How many have we seen between 1999 and then? It's not enough for anybody in government to decide what the situation is.
Okay.
There are laws. There is a constitution that is a grand law that defines, activities of both government and citizens. So we will expect that the judiciary in this case should be very fair, in deciding the matter on the basis of its merits or otherwise, rather than simply allowing ourselves to be subjected to unnecessary sensationalism that has characterized the Nigerian society for a very long time. And I think that has to do a lot with the very deep erosion in terms of our cultural values, erosion in terms of our even the level of our faith, the beliefs that we say we only fight, for God.
Okay.
We say we are Muslims, we are Christians, but we are so unfair to each other.
All right. Of course. And he raised the issue of, for over 72 hours since El-Rufai made the comment on Arise TV, like you rightly mentioned, that the NSA office has not said anything, rather other than the report of the federal government suing El-Rufai yesterday.
Yes.
Is that an issue? Is that an angle you're trying to take the whole
yes,
argument?
I want to also make reference to a word the guest used, which is the sensationalization that has characterized, and looking at that, sentiment, if I may use that word. The NSA has not come out to say, the office of the NSA to say,
to admit or deny whether
and here we are, invitations, and going to the court has started happening. What are you going to tell the court? Why are you inviting a man? I'm just asking a question.
Those charges have already been ruled out, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, those charges have already been ruled out.
The charges are...
So do you expect the NSA to actually make a public comment concerning the
justify the charges?
The revelation from El-Rufai, sir?
Yes.
Well, this is a democratic era. And when it is a democracy, even the president himself is compelled time after time to come out and speak to the nation on matters that are crucial. Not even to talk about a very sensitive matter like this that border around national security. The NSA is a politician, for God's sake. He has been a politician, we know. And what stops you from coming out to dispel the issues that have been raised by National El-Rufai? He should be able to do that. He should speak to us. He's our employee. He's on the employment of the Nigerian people. He is serving the Nigerian people. He's not serving the government of President Tinubu. He's serving all of us, the government and the citizens. So if a serious allegation like that is leveled against him or against his office, it is incumbent on him to come out and speak to the nation and say, look, what El-Rufai is saying is not true, and this is the fact of the matter. So now, the onus of proof is to agree whether, I hate the idea of people talking about the security implications of the statement that's made by National El-Rufai that somebody has bugged the line of the NSA and had him instructing ICPC to go and arrest him. That's not the substance. That is the surface. Why don't you go beyond that to appreciate the fact that what El-Rufai said on national television was either true or was false? That's the first thing. Then the second one, as El-Rufai also mentioned, is the internet. That it has become the tradition of the government to illegally tap, the communication lines of private citizens without, and that's supposed to be done after you have a court order to do that, or you have the backing of the judiciary to be able to do that. And he said that the Nigerian government is fond of doing that. And so Nigeria should be able to interrogate that. Look, democracy is not a tea party. It's not an end by itself. It's a means to an end. And you don't just institute it overnight. You continue to institute it by ensuring that you interrogate the processes and the personalities, especially those that are charged with the responsibilities of running the affairs of mankind. That's what democracy is all about. So we will be too, unfair to ourselves, to the system, to the nation, when we begin to conclude, Assad our positions without necessarily abiding by the necessary provisions that of the law. So in my view, this is the situation that we need to go. There is nothing stopping the National Security Advisor from telling Nigerians using the instrument of his office, if he cannot come out like everybody did to accuse him, using the instrumental of his office to either debunk or affirm the position that Mr. Erufai raised. But we haven't seen that. He's sitting quiet. He's just sitting aloof. So it's in my view, the onus now lies on the NSA. We expect that he should be talking to us.
All right.
To
Yes.
understand the gravity of issues
all right, Prof.
otherwise.
Now, looking at the sensitivity
Yes.
of the office of the NSA, I want to ask a question. Do the service providers, do they have any role or question to answer in line with this issue? The service providers, because I don't want to call their names. We know the big players in the communication industry, and they are saddled with the responsibility of protecting. It's just like the banking industry. There's some certain amount of money that cannot leave your account until what the bank will conduct what we call the DAR, depositor's attention required. And there are some security, apparatus surrounding such high-profile individual. So the providers, service providers, the big boys, the big giants in the industry, do they have any question to answer or any role to play in this matter, as it were?
Well, obviously, in a sensible system, in a system that is working, where it's intending to work, these are the very important things that ordinarily should be done. The telecommunication companies will have to be brought in here to be able to determine whether truly or not, whether government or individuals are at liberty to tap, the lives of
or whether it happens.
other people or communities or groups. I mean, yes, it does happen. But then, of course, they go unchallenged. Now, let me tell you, we need to get these things right. I think Nigerian governments have been busy occupying themselves with trivial issues rather than the real issues that bother us as a nation. As a nation, we seem to be existing without substantially adhering to our ground, that is the Constitution and the rules and laws, that first of all will guarantee freedom, fairness, equality, and justice, which remains the motto of Nigeria. We are simply excited at getting into positions of authority and then managing the resources of our respective communities without corresponding discharge of the abilities that are entrusted with. And I think that's why you get problems with a lot of these issues. I sincerely believe that, honestly, and in all sense of sincerity, this is a very delicate issue that Nigerians should not even attempt to sensationalize, because the sensationalization of this particular matter only exposes the weaknesses of the apparatuses of the Nigerian state rather than any particular statement that any individual will make about its failures or otherwise. Okay. So I think governments and the security agencies must have to put their acts together by ensuring that we get the right. Look, where do you go in the whole of this world and see somewhere they'll call you Kabiru SSS? Everybody knows that you are a secret police. And then our DSS carries, the uniforms and the badge. They are supposed to be undercover secret police of the Nigerian state, for God's sake. And when I was growing up,
yes, and
you didn't know who was,
Yes.
So these are some of the issues that we are facing at the moment.
Yes, and now talking about you just raised the issue of the DSS. And that brings the question about our security apparatus. A situation where DSS behaves like vulture, these days, where a certain figure will be in a particular institution, and then they will now be hanging somewhere and be waiting for
standing
by, as it were, be waiting for the subject to be rearrested. Is this the best way to go in our country? So what do you make of the attitude of DSS and other security agencies?
No, this didn't happen. This didn't happen in 1960 when Nigeria obtained full independence from Britain. It didn't happen. we were equipped with very brilliant intelligence service in the Nigerian police then, before the apparent division into now Department of State Service. But what you have today is that you see a security undercover, a security official who proudly, for one reason or the other, identifies himself as an undercover. Now, as an issue, the integrity, the functionality of that particular officer is severely diminished by the fact that you expose yourself in that matter. And that's the manner that we go on in this country. If the DHS wants to arrest anybody, there are better ways and methodologies that we can do that without any sensationalization. And I think this is basically one of the major issues. There is a need for a complete overhaul and reorientation of the major critical sectors of the Nigerian state and society. Probably that is why we continue to grapple in the dark, to continue to face the crisis that we are facing, and then you allow citizens to say whatever they want to say. And it is a responsibility of the state, my brother, to do that. That is the essence of leadership. That's the burden the leaders carry. It's not just about the purposes of office. It's not just about the paraphernalia that they enjoy when they get there. It's not about allocation of our resources. It's about management of humanity. It's about management of resources. All right. And I think we need to get these things absolutely right.
All right, Prof. Sorry for cutting you there. Can you hear me, Prof? Yes, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, there's this very controversial issue surrounding the office of the NSA that has been going on. Some Nigerians were like, the office of the NSA has been predominantly occupied by retired, intelligent military officers. I could remember when Rabadu was about to be appointed, there was some, concerns about his qualification being a retired police officer, and that such offices is not actually, quote and unquote, meant for police officer. It's a tradition, more or less, for retired intelligent military officers. And would Nigerians be right? Some Nigerians be right to say that the appointment of the policeman, the retired policeman, has not really, looking at the circumstances surrounding this issue, allegedly.
Yeah. Does it really matter? Whether
does it really matter?
Is it as a retired police officer, or you should be a retired military officer? And quickly to add to his question, sir, because time is not really our friend now. To add to his question, how about the public letter released by El-Rufai concerning the chemical purchase by the NSA office? So your quick take on these two questions, sir.
Well, let me begin by saying, I don't want to comment on the other side of the which has to do the letter which you spoke about.
Okay.
The citizen of Nigeria has a right to ask any germane question, whether rightly or wrongly, about the way the state is run. Democracy is supposed to be a collective responsibility. So every one of us has a, in mismanaging us and our resources, has to do with the fact that we are unable to interrogate every minor or major decisions that the governments have taken. So I think citizens should be encouraged to ask very critical questions about the way their lives are going on, about the way governments take decisions. That's about that. Now, the second leg of the question is on the issue of the suitability of who the National Security Advisor. If we are copying this Western liberal democratic system directly from the United States of America, how do they do their own? Who is an NSA in America? Do you have to be a retired military officer? Do you have to be a retired police officer? No. Condoleezza Rice was a professor. She was, a national security advisor before she was, catapulted to position of, a cabinet minister, under the Bush Junior administration.
Yes.
And several others like that. So the office of an NSA is not militaristic. It's not a uniform office. It's not the fact that you have to be a military intelligence officer or a police intelligence officer before you do that. And that's why we're getting it wrong all the time. That's why every time you have some level of mechanicalities and understanding of the basic purpose of what is contained in the office of the National Security Advisor. So I want to suggest that one of the things, of course, before Nuriba, Gambo Jamaica was a national security advisor. In fact, the first head of NSO, he was a military, I mean, he was a police officer. So it is not a discretion of military intelligence to be in NSA or any other person. In fact, it is a civil office, but it's a discretion of the president to decide whether from the military or from the civilian population. But if we are to go on our track as copycats of what others are doing, we see that in cases of the United States of America, hardly will any retired military or police officer occupy that office.
Okay.
It's an office that is supposed to be civil, for God's sake. So this is my take on this issue.
Okay.
It's not about whether everybody's policy is fit to be there. Like every Nigerian is fit to be there. It depends on the role of the Mongolia was there for God's sake for 8 years.
Yeah.
He was a retired, I think, Major General of the Nigeria Army. Whether he performed or not is a different ballgame altogether. This one, like I said, Umar Kashi started, this whole idea. There are several others, that have done that. So I think like there is a need for Nigerians to interrogate their government. What our governments don't like, especially this government, is for critical minds to begin to ask series of questions about the way they run affairs. And that's the tragedy of being in opposition for a very long time.
Yeah. Okay.
That's I think, is the problem that the Tinubu administration is carrying. They have criticized, they have condemned, they have advised throughout their lives, and now
they don't want
they are on the driver's seat. And probably they are unwilling to accept necessary criticisms. They see criticism, and you see, as a student of political science, I should tell you, that's one of the major disadvantages of socialist states. Socialist governments don't entertain apprehensions, they don't entertain questions from their citizens. So I expect any democratic government should be free, open, and transparent. You should listen to the people, you should be able to explain to the people, and you are human beings. And at the beginning of this government, we saw many decisions that the government took that were criticized by the people, and they retracted. And we celebrated it. We said, look, this is how a democratic government should be, a listening government. When people say this is it, and then you go back and you make your inquiry and investigation, you find that truly your decision was not, as good as you thought. That, look, it is human to act. You can go back and do the right decision. And I think that's what needs to be done.
All right.
That's what needs to be done. This government must, do away with any tendencies of dictatorship and authoritarianism. It doesn't work in Nigeria. It doesn't work in nations like ours. Nations that are frustrated economically and socially.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Kabiru Matu, for joining us this morning. I really enjoyed your incisive analysis this morning on the issues surrounding El-Rufai and, of course, the Nigerian state. Thank you very, very much, sir.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
All right. So, of course, Professor Kabiru Mato is a professor of political science, like you heard him there.
Right.
And he has really, touched on a lot of issues.
Dissected the whole issue.
Yes, and I think the bottom line of his argument is that this government should behave like a democratic government.
Yes,
citizens have the right to voice their opinion, and
they also have a right to listen.
And theirs is to listen and analyze what the people are saying and to do the right thing.
Yes.
So that's just the bottom line of his message this morning.
I quite agree with Prof. I quite agree with him that democracy is a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And he said something very catchy, that the behavior of the judiciary, as it were, now, that we need to look also, they need to look into it, that the judiciary is the hope of the common man. But these days, the common man doesn't even see the hope any longer, allegedly. So these are issues that the judicial institutions and the rest of them should strengthen the way they do their things, so that we can win the confidence of Nigerians. If
the NBA chairman can raise issues with, with the arm of government he belongs to, saying that, justice is sold these days and all that. So it's
sad because
it's a source of concern. So the point he's trying to make there is that in as much as El-Rufai is now in court, or El-Rufai has been sued in court, let the judiciary look at the case objectively. That is
the merit of the case.
Yes, I should look at the merit of the case. That's what he's saying. So we're going for a quick break. When we return, we'll talk more right here. This is the P&B Money Show. All right, so welcome back. Sure. Yes, we'll not stop talking about the FCT elections coming up. It's just this Saturday, so we'll have to dive into it and look.
This one is happening right before us.
It's happening right before us.
Abuja decides.
Yes. Now, the news we are, getting this morning concerning the FCT polls is that the Supreme Court have ruled in favor of Joshua Ishaku. Now, the Supreme Court of Nigeria has upheld the dissenting judgment of Justice Okon Abang, declaring Joshua Ishaku as the candidate of the All Progressives Congress for the 2026 Buhari Area Council Chairmanship election. So is this not a disarray for APC? Now it's like they actually have somebody already they are projecting. Now the court have said, no. This is the person that is supposed to be the APC candidate. So in Buhari Area Council, don't you think the APC will have an issue?
OJ, first and foremost, I want to commend the Supreme Court for standing tall in the face of justice. It's a very sensitive and dicey one. Looking at the timing, it takes a bold judge to come out and dish out justice at this very point in time. Considering the fact that we have barely how many days to the elections? Was it 3? Is it 3 or 4 days?
Yes,
the 24th.
Coming 4 days now to the elections.
Yes. So I want to commend the judiciary, for standing tall in the face of justice. It doesn't matter how long justice has been served. However, I also want to, align myself with what you just said, that the ruling party is going to have some issues because someone there has been, campaigning, preparing himself, probably seeing himself as the next chairman to be. And now here we are, he's been asked to step aside or stand by like we have in the case of the DSS standing by. This time he's going to stand by and we're going to watch, another candidate step in. And this also affects the cost, logistics. Posters have been printed, jingles, just name it.
So that is why that is why right from the primaries, the parties should always do the right thing, because if somebody gets aggrieved from the primary level, primary election levels and gets to court, decision might just go against whoever that is being imposed. You understand? Perhaps because I've not really gone into the nitty-gritty of this issue in Buhari Area Council, why Joshua had to go to court, to the appellate court, and then to the Supreme Court, and then this ruling, last night. So sometimes that is why we are calling on issue of this internal democracy. Let the right thing be done right from time, or else it will affect the party in future. So now in Buhari Area Council, the APC now have an issue this morning to contend with.
Yes, they have an issue to contend with, more so that the other party is going to leverage on it as well.
Yes.
They'll say whenever the lion wants to eat, something has to die. The lions don't eat grass. Something just have to die. This is politics. It's a dog-eat-dog world. There's no morality behind the process sometimes. So it's, some other parties will be smiling now and say, wow, this is an opportunity for us to, grab on the seat. Because considering the fact that there's some form of conundrum and form of pandemonium going on in the ruling party as it were down, because looking at the judgment that came just last night, barely 4 to 5 days before the
Main
election. And that tells a lot. That tells a lot. It's a huge blow.
And because I know that what the APC will do now is to carry on with the campaigns in the area council, and it's just to say, okay, this is not you are voting for the party, not for the individual this time around. Okay.
So what happens to the posters?
The posters, does it take
some percentage of persons?
It doesn't take time to print posters. Even by today, the posters of the new person that the Supreme Court has said is the rightful person to represent the party in the elections can be printed.
There are a set of people who vote you because they see your face on the poster.
That's what I'm saying. That can be done today, before the end of today,
and they'll cover the whole place.
Of course. Are we not talking about it? It is the party. It is the party structure that will pick up the campaign.
So what happens to the other person that has been campaigning? Don't you think he's going to be aggrieved?
The court says you are not the person to represent. So what do you want me to say in this case? The court says, Chidi, you are not supposed to be the person representing this party.
Because I will be. We were looking at
that this person was cheated right from the primary elections. You understand? And he has a case, and they have ruled in his favor. So it's to replace him with the person who has been.
What do you think is going to affect?
That is the question I'm asking.
Whether it's going to affect a lot of things.
It depends.
The unity in the party.
It depends on the party. If the party is actually strong in Buhari, you understand, in Buhari Area Council. If the APC is very, very strong in the Buhari Area Council, I don't think this should affect the outcome of the election if they're actually strong. Okay, so what they now do is to continue with the massive campaign and tell the electorate that, look, this is what has happened. Yes, we are actually replacing A with B right now because of this has happened, but all the same, they are all our members, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry, this and that. And that is how the campaign continues.
With you, but you see, we're dealing with human feelings here.
Yes.
OJ. You have to sort of understand the psychological aspect of this matter, as it were now.
I mean, yeah, I understand the point you are trying to make, but I don't think it should be an issue.
If the court should unseat you 4 days an election,
so are you
most likely not going to take another 48 hours to absorb that bitter?
Or are you now saying that, okay, maybe the initial person who has been there will feel bitter and work against the party?
Most likely.
No, then you are not a party man.
Well,
yes, of course.
He's wanting to be a party man. He's also wanting to learn how to absorb such. We're talking about 4 days to elections. Yeah?
But we are talking about justice here.
Yes, vis-a-vis.
We're not talking about justice here.
Yes, I agree with
or the rule of law that you always.
The human factor too is there.
The human factor, but which should supersede the other?
Well, justice, if I may say.
You understand? So if Joshua has been unjustifiably removed, you understand? He won from what has happened. He actually won the primary election, but someone else. This is what we are talking about: the e-transmission. You understand? Where things are done properly, you won't have all these kind of issues.
And the e-transmission would have sorted all this issue.
No. We don't need to go to court. No, it hasn't come to that yet because this is not the secondary. We are talking about the primary election where delegates elect who should represent the party and all. That is where this issue came from for the APC.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but even the e-transmission can be used for the primaries too.
But no, the INEC is not responsible.
No, I'm advising.
It is the main election, this secondary election that we'll be witnessing on Saturday, God willing, that this e-transmission will now be tested. And the Osun elections and what have you, that we are expecting that to now be tested to see if it will work out. So this is something we should be.
I was even going to find out: are we going to practicalize it? Not having known that the president has not assented yet. The process is still ongoing.
No, you see, the argument of some other INEC officials is that, look, this issue of e-transmission has been there, that INEC has introduced it before. You understand? It's not a new thing. That the National Assembly is just trying to legalize it. Okay? So just like the beavers and all that. Technology, INEC has already introduced technology into our elections. So even before the president assent to the act, being passed now. And that brings the question of the harmonization thing. We will understand that there's some hanky-panky or cat and rat game played yesterday. Remember, we talked about the Senate, the Senate committee and the House of Representative committee
coming together to harmonize
the stuff yesterday. The House of Rep members did not show up. Reason we don't know yet. So we are still following the situation as it were this morning. So why? Understand? Why? Could it be that something is happening? Why is it that the House of Rep members did not show up yesterday to harmonize this issue? Would all this not cause?
If I'm to make up the excuses for them, the House of Rep had no issues with e-transmission in real time.
And no, the issue they are supposed to harmonize the.
Yes, I'm going somewhere.
The act yesterday.
They never had issues ab initio with retransmission in real time. And when it now got to the upper chamber, the red chambers, we started hearing technicalities like the real time. Just like somebody said, yeah, what do you have problem? We don't have any problem with real time where we have POS everywhere.
Yes, we know. I think we've gone past all those arguments.
I want to believe that the House of Rep being more in number in terms of representation. They're trying to listen to the yearnings and cries of the Nigerians and trying to be careful before they can approach, the center stage. And
the stage they are right now is that the House of Rep they've passed theirs, and the Senate has also done theirs. So it is to harmonize. So looking at one or two gray areas as okay, I think this clause let's readjust.
That's what I'm telling you.
To harmonize. So why are they delaying now?
No, why are not they? Why are they not there? Can also be a way of telling you that there are some things I don't want to agree with you. It's a way of telling.
For show up and let me know what's your problem.
No, not showing up too is also a way of communicating too. OJ, if you say
that we are not,
there are some things I'm not comfortable
with.
Yes.
Okay. So now before we go, because our time is fast spent.
Why will you alter what I have already, from the lower chamber moved to you and got into your table?
You not try to.
so not showing up is a way of saying, that's something they might not come out on the air to say that.
Okay. Chidi, before we go, let's quickly look at this very last issue we are getting this morning. That is the issue of the elections. I recall that some days ago, INEC said INEC announced the timetable for the election. The presidential election will come up on February 20, right?
Yeah.
And the National Assembly election, and then the other elections. Now, we now talked about the issue of the National Assembly meeting today to look at the date for the election to bring it forward. So it was speculated that
due to the
February election. But what we're now hearing is it might be January 16 now, not 13 anymore. January 16. But the question I want to ask you now, Chidi, very quickly, is what is the difference between January 16 and January 20? I know the argument is the issue of Ramadan, the Muslim fasting period. But 16, 20.
Same month?
Same month. 16.
4 days?
Yeah, what we are hearing now is it's like it appears to be 16th. The election will be held of February.
As against
20th. But as against 20th. It's just 4 days difference. So if the argument is that February 20, because of Ramadan, people our Muslim brothers and sisters who will be fasting at that period might not come out to vote, because that is the argument, even for the vice president and Bashir, the former aide to President Buhari. Those were the arguments. Okay, February 20, on the heat of the Ramadan. Okay, and now we are hearing 16. So what is the difference between 16 and 20? I don't know.
Okay, 16 and 20 is 4 days. 4 days, difference.
Yes.
And what I want to find out there is the Ramadan happening on the 16th? No.
No, that would be the early days of the Ramadan. from my own understanding, that would be the early days of the Ramadan period.
Yes, okay.
I think Ramadan will be maybe February 13 or something, or 12 or 13, something like that.
I want to understand, fasting is a spiritual exercise.
Yes.
And at some point, the more the days go by, the weaker you become as a human being.
Okay.
Like I just finished 21 days fast last month, January. Of course, the first 3 days, I still have strength.
Okay.
I still have strength as a human being. But as we approach towards the 10th, 15th day,
Okay.
of course, naturally, one begins to get weaker. You can no longer do certain things actively the way you used to do.
Okay.
Because your body is beginning to conform to this particular system that is alien to it for a long while.
Long while.
Do you understand? So I think that is what they're trying to look at 16th. Look at 3 days. Excuse me.
Into
yes,
the Ramadan.
Well, Nigerians can still have some form of strength to still come out and vote and protect their vote. But when you begin to drag it from 3 days to the 6-7 days, like my own case, of course, naturally, you are human beings, you begin to become weaker.
Okay.
And I think that's what they're trying to, that's a calculation, if I'm to think for them, they're trying to consider.
You are supposed to be in the courts as a barrister.
Well,
because this is a genuine case that you have put forward.
I put it to
you. All right, thank you so much, Chidi. We just have to go now. No, time is not our friend on this show.
Well, we hope so.
Should we extend it by 2 hours?
Well, I'm not aware.
Can we take the bill to the National Assembly so that they will pass it into law?
That will entail some form of. When you take the bill, somebody's going to sponsor the bill too.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Chidi, Kenneth, for being part of the show as always. And this is where we draw the curtain on the program this morning. Before we go, a special thanks to, of course, Innocent, who pressed the necessary buttons for us this morning behind the scene, and to everyone who, of course, helped in this production of the P&B Morning Show. So we'll meet again tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of the program. My name is Omike Joseph Matthew, and he is Chidi Kenneth. Bye-bye for now.